Thank you for joining me for another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. I am beyond excited. Today's guest is living proof that you can quite literally sing your way into healing, success, and joy. Michele Blood is a powerhouse, a former rock star, literally a rock star from Australia, who turned a near fatal car accident into a launching pad for a worldwide impact. She's created affirmation songs that not only healed her body, but have also helped millions of people all over the world shift their mindset, their energy, and their results. She's worked alongside transformational legends like Bob Proctor, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Jack Canfield. She's written over 80 books and programs, and she's created the Magnet to Money app, which I have checked out, and you should. It's really, really cool. Her story is just wild. Her energy is completely contagious, and her mission is to help people awaken their purpose to live successfully and experience divine oneness. Hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did. So, Michele, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Kara. It's lovely to be here with you on your epic show. Let's make it an epic interview
Well, let's
conversation.
do that. Let's do that. I think we have enough material for sure. As I said in the intro, you're a very, very fascinating woman. So back before your car accident, what was life like when you were a rock star singer in Australia?
Well, it was tough, but it was amazing um, because I was the lead singer, manager of the band as well. And, you know, I had to go and get the record contracts and do the songs and get the road crew. It was a huge amount of work, but I loved it because it was worth it to be able to do what I loved every night. At one stage, we toured for nonstop for 7 years without one break.
Can you
So
repeat that, please?
at one stage, we toured, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. Get out of there, frog. We toured for at one stage for 7 years nonstop without a break.
Wow. Wow. And it is so I've never been on stage at a concert as a concert person. However, I have been an audience member, and you're working hard up there. That is,
Oh, yeah.
ooh, that's it. Got to be exhausting. So so when you're in the hospital, and did you realize that music could heal you while you were in the hospital?
Oh, gosh, no. No, I had no thought of anything like that. After the truck accident, so many operations. I mean, one of them was 17 and a half hours. No, it was all, there's no accidents in life, but it was all a spiritual epiphany of how it was meant to be. And it's just, to me, to this day, it's still amazing to me how all of that experience of all those years of being on stage since I was a little kid on a TV show when I was a little kid. I mean, I've been on the stage forever, that all of that would come into play to assist me now, to assist others, to uplift, heal, give them success in their lives. I mean, it's just amazing grace. But what happened is pretty simple. Would you like me to share it?
Yes, please.
Sounds simple, but people were sending me transformational spiritual tapes. That's how long ago it was. If there's any kids listening, look up tapes, Walkmans,
Cassette tape.
cassette tapes. And I always had a little cassette player with me, Cara, for any song ideas I got so that I wouldn't lose them, because if you don't sing it down straight away, they're gone into the ethers. Short-term memory, not into the long-term memory. So I used to sing down my songwriting ideas whenever they came to me. And so I had that with me in a little cassette player. It was already with me from the truck accident in my bag. So they would put on these different cassettes, and I wasn't interested in any of that. I'd never been into transformational stuff. I had all the willpower, all the positivity. I was so disciplined, looking after my voice, looking after my body, making sure I could be on stage every night without ever blowing out a gig. And so I was fit and healthy and very positive, very happy person, willing to work as hard as it comes. So I had no need to look outside of myself for motivation. And so a lot of those things that they gave me, I wasn't interested in. There was just one the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill audio program, and there was just Earl Nightingale. I'm sure you've heard of him. He had the most amazing, deep, deep voice, and he did the audio book of Napoleon Hill's book. So I loved listening to the timbre of his beautiful baritone voice as he was speaking the book. So I was happy to listen to it just for that reason. I loved his voice. Earl Nightingale, such a beautiful baritone voice. But I wasn't interested in the book at all, because it's all about successful male entrepreneurs in the 20s in America. Why would I care? No. But the one chapter where Napoleon Hill talked about how his little infant son was born 100% deaf, and he would go into his little infant son's room every night and do what he called autosuggestion, affirmations. You can hear perfectly, my son, in all these just amazing affirmations about how he grows up to be so wonderful. The little boy ended up getting 30% hearing by the time he was 5, which was medically impossible. So when I heard that, you know, when you hear something, Kara, and even if you've never heard it before, in the marrow of your bones, you believe it.
Yes.
So that's what I believed. I said, yes. I sort of had a bit of a recapitulation of a recap of my life, and how, yeah, I had affirmed, I want that drummer to be in my band. I want that guitarist. I would just manifest it without even thinking. I would work hard to get it, but I would just know I could do something. I could get that particular road crew if I wanted them, whatever it was. And so I believed it. I said, yeah, the mind is extremely powerful. Everything I've created isn't just through talent and perseverance. It's also through willpower, through knowing that nothing is impossible. And so Napoleon Hill said, you have to emotionalize the affirmation for it to go into your subconscious mind. But I could not, I made up an affirmation. I am healed, because I wasn't. I know I am, and I didn't. I love myself. I am my friend. None of those things were true at the time, because I was extremely depressed, in an absolute physical agony, to the point where every 30 seconds or so, I would literally pass out from the pain. It was so bad being anyway, I won't go into that. Don't want anyone to lose their breakfast, lunch, or dinner. But so I just decided to give it up, because I couldn't emotionalize the affirmation, saying it over and over again. I couldn't write it down because I couldn't move. So I just decided, okay, it doesn't work. I can't emotionalize it because I'm not believing it, and I'm in a hospital bed in physical pain. So that was the beginning of saying no to affirmations. And then the next thing was about 2 weeks later, as a singer-songwriter, and I'd actually done some jingles over the years. I didn't tell the band because it's sort of uncool, but I'd done it for the money. They were happy to get a new drum kit, let me tell you. But anyway, so I realized, oh my God, advertising agencies spend billions a year on jingles, because you can't get the product out of your head once you've got the jingle in your head. So I decided to I asked my brother, Stephen, to go and look for affirmation music. And that we didn't have the internet back then. That's how long ago it was, in the 80s. So he went to all the different record stores and new age stores, and he said, there isn't anything. There's no like music to affirmations. So I said, okay, put the cassette player on. So he turned the blank one on. I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. And I sang it over and over and over again. And what I didn't realize at the time was that the melody that I was singing was going into the right brain, the lyrics, the affirmation into the left brain. It gave me a complete whole brain experience, and it went straight into my subconscious mind. And so that's all I could hear. And after about 2 weeks of just listening to because I just kept singing it until the cassette player was full, I began to have hope. I don't know if you want to call it hope, but I had a spark again of life, and I started feeling better. And I was seeing over the brick wall of my pain to what could be possible no matter what. Even if I can't walk again properly or walk again, I can still sing, I can still write songs. I started seeing possibilities for myself again. So it all began, that's how it happened. The affirmation
Wow.
music.
That is beautiful. And you know what's really crazy? Before I met you, probably, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months ago, I had that exact thought. I thought, I do affirmations constantly all the time. Wouldn't it be cool? Because sometimes, like the song Delta Dawn, I mean, you get that song in your head and it's not going anywhere. I thought, how cool would it be to have affirmations to music? And then I don't know who hooked us up, if it was your people or my people, but I have been so excited. And guys, let me tell you, Michele has a wonderful website and she has a lot of very totally free things that you can take advantage of. But the music, oh my gosh, please go more into that, into your affirmations and your music. What was the first affirmation song that you wrote? Was it the one you just told me?
Yeah, I am healed. Then when I got out of the hospital, I had, pretty much miraculous healing. I mean, I still had the steel plates in my body, which I'm so, so grateful to the amazing doctors at the North Shore Hospital in Sydney for what they did. They were, and the truck accident was right across the road from that particular hospital, by the way. After a 19-hour drive from Brisbane to Sydney after a gig. But anyway, so I said to my friend John Beatty, I said, I really want to do a lot of affirmation music just for us, just for the band, because it's really great. And I knew that he'd always been into mystical type of stuff, meditation. And he said, oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Let's do some. And so I ended up writing a whole bunch of affirmations, affirmation songs. And I just came up with so many. And so I went in the studio with him and did some, and then I went in on my own, and I couldn't stop writing and recording them just on an 8-track studio. And uh, with my little drum machine and everything, like I used to do with my little Casio keyboard. And then I decided to get the guys in and make it more professional. I said, this is really, really cool. But what happened was journalists in Australia were finding out about this miraculous healing. And so then promoters who were promoting transformational, motivational speakers, authors, asked me to come and do a tour with Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Stuart Wilde, and all these people I'd never heard of. They weren't in my periphery. And they asked me to sing the affirmation songs and entertain the people in between the speakers. And they put the lyrics up on a big screen, and I would get everyone up on stage. And a lot of people already knew who I was in Australia. So I couldn't believe the first gig I did was 3,000 people in Adelaide during the day, a Wednesday, and it was packed, and they had all paid over $350 each then in the 80s. And I just thought they were insane. I'm like, what is this seminar business? This is crazy. I didn't need my band. I just had backing music. And but then some other promoters asked me to do a tour of Australia with this guy called Bob Proctor. And the first gig I did with him was in Sydney at the Regent Hotel, which is now called the Four Seasons. And it was a Friday evening. And after the first half, and I'd already sang a couple of my affirmation songs, he came backstage and he said, I did not want some pop singer, And he said, but they said I have to because they're paying me to do these gigs and that you're really amazing. And he said, I did not want. I said, well, g'day, mate. Nice to meet you too, mate.
Good for you.
And then he started laughing and he said, but the truth of the matter is I'm so happy they did. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know because they knew you or what it is, but those affirmation songs are still in my head. And the two I'd sung was I Am Energy and I'm a Magnet to Money. He said, this is amazing. Him and his wife, Linda said, I want you to work with us all over the world. I said, well, I've got a rock band. I'm not going to do that. But it ended up being that I was asked to do so many gigs and I loved doing them on my own. I loved the whole thing and not having to worry about a band. So I gave my band 6 months notice because I didn't want the wives to decapitate me of the band. So I gave them 6 months notice. And then after that, I lived in Malaysia. I ran Bob Proctor's whole business. He couldn't believe that. I said, well, I'm a businesswoman. I know how to put on a big event and a rock concert or anything. So of course I end up doing all his events and promoting them and having musicians on stage and dancers. And he was just like, this is crazy, but I love it. So we ended up working together for 7 years nonstop. I was based in Kuala Lumpur. He would come every month, him and his wife. And then after that, I just got asked to do, I got a band together again, just musicians, did more records, worked in over 26 countries, still recording music, doing them in different languages. And then I went off the grid completely to get into my soul, into mysticism.
Wow. Okay. This is so exciting. There's so much to it. Let's back up just a little bit. So
Sure.
your miraculous healing, you attribute to the healing song that you just belted out and you just recorded over and over and over again. You were at the worst place in your life. Would that be safe to say?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Completely
Definitely.
lost all hope.
Yep.
Completely, like I had this I was a literal rock star, and now my life is over. Poor me.
Yeah.
And then the music brought you back in such a big way. How often is it that our best realizations come when we're at our very lowest?
Yeah. If we're blessed enough, we can get out of those rabbit holes, but it's not always easy to do it on your own. I was just extremely, it was the right, I just call it divine satori. And that took me on the journey that I was always supposed to do. So all that experience I'd had assisted me to be able to, I mean, if you can look after thousands of drunk Australians, you can handle any audience, Kara.
I bet you. I bet you. And of course, that's who you're going to have at concerts. And so it couldn't have really worked for you to have used that in your actual rock band, yet this other opportunity opened. It felt like the world's shutting down, and then this other amazing opportunity opened up, and you've traveled 26 different countries that you've done this in.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I think
Oh,
more. I think more actually.
what was your favorite audience?
Oh, that would be in Kuala Lumpur on New Year's Eve, 1988, 50,000 people.
Wow. So you had 50,000 people singing your money song?
No, singing a song that Bob and I wrote for Malaysia called Dua Pula, Dua Pula. It was about Vision 2020, motivation for the nation, that I ended up writing in their language, and I had all their pop stars sing it along with me, and it became a big hit, that song that Bob and I wrote, because the Prime Minister at the time was just an amazing man in Malaysia, that particular man. And he was attempting to get the Muslim community to not have as many wives. And I don't know, he's a doctor, his wife was a surgeon. He's a really cool prime minister. And he had a vision he called Dua Pula, which is 2020 vision. And so we decided to write a song all about his vision and make it into a rock song, which I did. And that's how that happened.
Gosh, what a life. What an incredible life. So what excites you now? I mean, you've had the most exciting life most people can imagine. What gets you like, oh, now?
Well, it's all about God and meditation. I went off the grid for over 12 years, didn't do events or anything. I just studied with an enlightened teacher until I eventually had my awakening. And that was the most amazing thing that ever happened to me in my life. Not that concert, but in that particular period of life, that was the biggest thing. But finding God in my life, and like Buddha said, you awaken, and learning meditation all those years off the grid, just having people now come to me from all over the world and to do light transmissions for them and prayers. I love to pray, meditate for people, teach them meditation. Anything that I can do, and everything that the Buddha said is true. Once you're awakened, you cannot stand people being in pain. The compassion is overwhelming. So whatever I can do in any area of anybody's life that I can assist them with, well, that's what my life is about now, to release suffering in the world. People do not need to suffer. We have all of this power and light within us, this like with this shiny diamond, but the diamond gets coated and we don't know who we are, and we can't feel our intuition, which is being in tune with our higher self. And so that's what gets me up at 3 or 4 every morning to meditate for people. I've got all these students from all over the world, from all walks of life and different cultures and communities, and that's it for me.
That's it. Okay, so you had a Kundalini awakening. What does that actually mean?
Well, it means enlightenment. I became enlightened after years of studying with my enlightened teacher and meditating. And it takes years to go through it. The process is extremely challenging. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Because
Right.
you can have a Kundalini rush coming up your Sushumna, up your spine, many, many times before you have a full awakening, going through stargates, going through different dimensions. It's a very harrowing thing. You've got to be really fit. But I was already very disciplined, Kara, from my life on the road. So I knew how to exercise every day, look after my voice, look after my body, which you have to do if you really want to have enlightenment. But that's all I wanted. I wanted, because of all those years of affirmations and everything, what happened was my eyes were more open. So my heart was more open. I used to say to Bob Proctor, I feel this heart glow. It's God, it's something. And he said, you need to find an enlightened teacher. He said, you're on your road to enlightenment. He said, I found one. He didn't become fully enlightened, Bob himself, but I found he had an enlightened teacher for 3 years before that teacher left the body in Canada. And it was an American lady who taught me, who was 10 years younger than me. I didn't know about enlightenment. I'd read Yogananda's books. I'd been reading all these mystical books before I came to America to live, because I wanted to know what God was. What was it that I was feeling? This huge love, where I just literally look at a tree and see things vibrating and cry with love. It was crazy. So I wanted to do everything I could. I never ever thought in a billion years, it wasn't my intention that I could ever become enlightened, because like, who was I to do that? But when I meditated with this lady and I felt that tingles on my head and through my body and my eyes watering up, and my heart glow became even stronger and stronger. I didn't realize at the time that means your heart chakra is partially activated, just partially. And so it's just impossible to explain what it does. But what it does is you no longer have a past or a future. You literally live in timelessness. There is no time in your consciousness, because time is a man-made thing, which is what stresses people out. And people don't realize that with that power, you don't even have to think about what people call manifestation. You are guided exactly on what to do and when to do it. Where I live now in the mountains, where I haven't seen one car go by today yet. There's dirt roads, no lighting. And the next house is about 2 acres away. And I'd written down exactly what I wanted. I wanted to live in seclusion in a beautiful home in the countryside. I didn't say which country, I didn't say where. And then it just manifested, because the clearer you are, the faster things happen, because this world is just a dream called the Maya in Buddhism. And in Hinduism too, it's just a dream, like Yogananda used to talk about. And he wasn't Buddhist, and I'm not Buddhist, and I'm not Hindu. I'm a mystic. And a mystic is someone who is one with their higher self. Mysticism, every great enlightened teacher who's ever written about anything were mystics. They didn't start religions. It's people after they left the body that usually started the religions. They didn't. They just wanted people to awaken. It's religion and dogma happens usually after the teacher has left the body, which is just the way it is, unfortunately, but that's what happens.
It is what it is. So what does mystical success mean to you?
Well, mystical success is allowing your higher divine self, first of all, to guide you on your divine purpose. What is it you're here to do? And what can you do with your life that will assist you to have a great life while you're assisting others to have a great life? And even if you never see anybody, once you're awakened, once you begin to have freedom within yourself, that spreads. It spreads. The freedom within one consciousness spreads to other people. It's just the way it is. It's just amazing. Like just this wave that keeps going out from you. And then you're in a different oscillation. So you start attracting different people in that oscillation, in that frequency. Everyone has a divine frequency, which now isn't woo-woo Woodstock shit.
Right.
It's proven scientifically, thank you, scientists, to prove what Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. We are what we think. Everything we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we create our world. Well, thank you, Buddha. And the scientists are going, wow, consciousness is real. You can't see it, you can't hear it, but it's real. We're telling you, we have proven it, but we can't really tell you. You just have to believe us scientists. Consciousness is real. That's all we are. We're a hologram. Science last year proved that we are holograms, and black holes aren't really black holes. They've started discerning and finding things that are deeply mystical, which every mystical teacher has been teaching for thousands of years. So it's quite fascinating to me to see science catching up. So the naysayers can at least believe in the science. Oh, so it's not all beeswax. The mind does create our reality, and how much we love and how much we give. And so mystical success is having that divine purpose within you, where you're doing something that gives you that heart glow every day, where you feel grateful in every moment for the miraculous thing. I did something for my students the other day, Cara. It was snowing where I live a couple of weeks ago, and I had this, oh my God, just absolute blown away Satori. I don't know why it happened 2 weeks ago, but it was like every snowflake, as we know, they've proven, has got six stars. It's a 6-starred thing, and every single one is different. And I said to my students, we're on this Zoom, and I just said, wow, it's artwork directly from God. Wow. So with every student, I made a special picture for them with my assistant Trevor, who's amazing. So we put their photograph and a different snowflake for each person and made a beautiful thing for them to remember. And then after, in gold, just put God's artwork. God's perfect artwork, because that's what you are. Everybody, I want everyone to see that they are God's perfect artwork, and everything is possible for every single person. Once you get out of your rabbit holes of thinking, doubt, and, just know that you're never alone. It's a beautiful golden tapestry that we are all one.
So I have heard it said, and I believe it completely, but maybe you can enlighten me a little on this, that when someone becomes enlightened, their enlightenment brings other people with them. It raises the consciousness of all of us. Is that true?
Yeah, it really does. But there's, like, I know 3 other people on the planet right now that are enlightened. My teacher, of course, being one of them, me now, and 2 other people that I know. And there are obviously other enlightened people, but they don't all become teachers, because it's a tough job. But as I was saying before, all of the experience that I had from all of those years assisted me to be able to teach. Because when I teach, I just want everyone, it doesn't really matter what I say, it's what's coming through me to bring up the oscillation for everybody. As an entertainer, I can do that with people, and we can have like a 3-hour event and they think it's a half an hour's going by, because we're laughing and we're having fun and just bringing out the joy in everybody, so they're not thinking. Because when I see people teaching and it's almost like a therapy session, I'm like, no, snap out of it, like Cher does on that great movie Moonstruck with Nick Cage. Snap out of it. Get people more focused on the joy and happiness and fun things, and then their oscillation will immediately come up. You don't have to go down rabbit holes of therapy. It doesn't work. It is still there. We need to get this diamond through the light transmissions and meditation to actually release those old habits, those old paradigms that are there. You need more than just affirmation music. But all of that is a beginning. It's a beginning to at least bring the person's oscillation up, so that they're thinking, oh, I can do it, rather than, oh, I can't do it because of the country where I live, or the taxes, or the tariffs, or this, looking at everything around them for the reasons why it can't happen, because they're listening to what other people think or the news, instead of that is ridiculous. Knucklehead, brush it off, get on with it, so that's the way I teach.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so what is the most important thing someone who wants to become enlightened can do today?
Well, I don't think it's about wanting to become enlightened, because it's not something that you want. It's something that is naturally, inherently, it's within everybody is their enlightenment. That is your soul. Without that, you can't breathe. Once you've left the body, it's left the body. It's immortal consciousness. No one ever dies. So it's not about wanting. I didn't want to become enlightened because I didn't think I ever could. I wanted to know God, but Kara, not everybody wants to know God. So what I say to people is, even if you just want more money in your life, more success, health, to release, you don't have to have a big highfalutin goal of becoming a great mystic or anything. You don't want your ego involved in anything. If you just want a better life and you want to start from that, well, then I suggest the affirmation music, visualization, and definitely find, if not me, find yourself a meditation teacher who's awakened so that they can transmit the light to you. Because when I met my teacher, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how blessed I was because I felt it straight away and it changed my life completely. I went straight off the grid immediately. That's all that mattered to me, was that feeling, that oneness. When you have that oneness, all fear goes. There is no more fear. It is beyond belief or beyond even faith, if that's possible, because you're not living in a consciousness of where other people live. You're not worried about what will happen or what won't happen anymore. You just know everything is always good, and that no matter what happens, you don't get me wrong, you don't go into a lion's den if they're hungry.
Right.
But, because that's a different type of fear. That's just being stupid. You don't cross the road blindfolded. You don't try to. I did do a few of those things back in the day to prove my faith before my enlightenment. I went into the jungles of Malaysia with a guide with snakes around and everything. I was allergic to apples. I would get on a plane and eat an apple on a plane to prove my faith. I mean, I did crazy things. But anyway, then I met my teacher, so I just stopped doing crazy things and just decided to go within.
Going within is a great place to go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. I actually have an enlightened teacher myself, and it
Oh,
is,
that's amazing.
oh, it is amazing. It is so amazing.
Would you share who it is?
Dr. Ron Stotts. He worked with Dr. John Gray and Barbara DeAngelis. John Gray wrote "Men Are from Mars, Women Are
Oh,
from
yeah, I know.
Venus."
Yep. I know
Yeah,
Barbara. Yep.
yeah. So, yeah, and it's just amazing to.
Well, I'm very, very, very happy for you, because then it's so challenging to attempt to do it on your own, no matter how much you do your positive thinking and come into that heart glow of loving the light. To have an enlightened teacher is a very rare thing, and I'm extremely happy for you. I knew there was something about you.
Well, he gets all the credit. It is pretty amazing. There's a book called Positive Intelligence, and you can for free go take a saboteur assessment, and it'll tell you all the things that are sabotaging you, and the scores are generally very, very high. And I didn't hear about this test until after I'd been working with him for quite some time. And my score, his score, and his wife's scores were all really low on the saboteur's assessment. And all the other people, very successful professional people that we took that with, their scores were really high. And there was no way, like you said, it's impossible to describe. Well, there was no way to describe what's happening, but that was like, oh, okay. Whew, there's the proof. Like you said, finally the science catches up and there's the proof. So if someone wanted to work with you, is that possible one-on-one?
Yeah, I do one-on-one sessions occasionally. They can just go to requestdivinelight.com. But I've got the first book I ever wrote, I rewrote a couple of years ago, and I love the audio version. So I've got that as a gift for all of your followers, your people, because the audio version's great. Because what I did was I put tons of affirmations at the end of it for them to repeat after me. and affirmation music as well. There's tons of stuff in there for free. And all they have to do is go to Michele Blood, Michele, one L, ELE Blood, BLOOD. It's Irish. It's my father's name. Don't blame me. MichelleBlood.com/epic life. And they can get the Magic of Affirmation Power audiobook for free, which within it has links to lots of free things for you to have fun with.
And I have had a lot of fun with it because I went and checked it all out. Michele also has an audio and visual book. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the manifestation video book. Did Trevor give that to you? I asked him to
Yes.
give you the link. Oh, good. It's something I always like to do, an audio book with every book I write. I've written a lot of books, and I always love the audio book. Being a recording artist, of course, I love to do it myself. And we started doing this little blog with visuals to go with what I was talking about with the audio. And then it just came to me, let's do a video book. And no one had ever done it like that before. So I put all these, with my friend Holly, we put all these images that are really positive images to go with exactly what I was saying for each chapter. Manifestation through the power of mysticism, which has got topics, so many amazing topics. And so at the end of each chapter is a music video with an affirmation song. So it's a lot of fun, and your doubting mind does not have a chance to reject it. So it's a really good way of putting in positivity without you having to say, I don't know if I believe that or not, because it's entertaining. So that's good.
Yeah, it is very good. Okay, so you've worked with some of the very best of the best, Bob Proctor, Wayne Dyer, for goodness sakes, Deepak Chopra. And I know when you met them, you didn't know that they were all that. But looking back, what are some of the lessons that you learned, or even just one lesson that you learned from one of them?
I didn't learn any lessons from those guys. But I learned lessons from, I love Stuart Wilde. When I worked with Stuart Wilde, he was amazing. He's left the body now too, because he was so irreverent. And I love the fact that he was so irreverent. And I think it's really important that you don't take yourself so seriously. When people take themselves seriously, and I love people who walk their talk. And so he walked his talk, and Bob Proctor as well. He walked his talk. So I like the fact that they were more rock and roll than the other guys I work with. They were real. And so Bob Proctor and Stuart Wilde were my favorites because they taught what they'd learnt and what they lived by. And I loved Bob Proctor. I'm, people used to say I was a workaholic. I was never a workaholic. I just loved what I did so much. And Bob was the same way. So I loved that we had this, we never stopped working. And I wrote a lot of songs with Bob too, affirmation music songs. We did a lot of things together, wrote books together, lots of programs, events. And I loved working with the people that, there's so many things that I learned. I can't think of one right now, but I love the fact that I ended up working with people that were very irreverent, but they still loved God, because I don't like people pretending they're a saint, because it's not about the way you act, it's who you are within. And you can be as rock and roll or as irreverent as you like and still be such an innocent within yourself and have that just no judgment about other people. And I love the fact that, because I'd never been judgmental, and I love the fact that, well, actually, there is one thing that Bob Proctor taught me that I loved. He loved that if someone attempted to explain themselves through ego, if someone was saying something and they're like, but you don't understand, and Bob would say, you don't need to explain yourself. It doesn't matter what other people think of you. So I loved it. This is a long time before Terry Cole Whitaker wrote, what other people think of me is none of my business. Bob was all about teaching people, don't worry about what other people think. You just do your own thing. So that's a big thing that I'd always been like that, but there was still one side of me that wanted people to like me. And then working with him, I didn't give a crap anymore. So that was a good lesson. And Stuart Wilde definitely never gave a crap about what other people thought of him. So I think that's freedom. It's a lot of freedom to stop worrying about what your ego thinks other people should think. A
Well,
good
it makes a
question.
lot of
Good question.
sense.
Good
And well,
question.
it's like if you're worried, if you're spending time and you're worried, and oh my gosh, that person's going to think that, and that person's going to think that, my energy isn't here. I'm not present. I'm not curious. I'm not breathing. I'm worried. So that makes a lot of sense. That's beautiful. Okay. So, what have I not asked you that I should have?
Oh, goodness. There's nothing I can think of.
Okay. I
I
want to make
just,
sure that I don't leave anything out. I've got you, and it's just I appreciate so much that you're dropping so much wonderful good stuff on our people here. One of the things that you said, you talked about authenticity, and I just heard that they're able to measure what comes out of people. The science is catching up, and they say that authenticity is the most powerful energy that we could possibly put out.
yeah, and I've never thought of that word ever in my life. And the reason I never thought of that word was because when you're living your life in freedom, you don't even think about authenticity because you're just naturally that way. And I never heard Bob talk about that word or Stuart Wilde or different enlightened teachers ever because of the fact that you're already living it. So if something isn't within yourself, it's not there, you don't think of it because it's not part of who you are. You can't be inauthentic because it's not part of who you are. But if people want to become authentic, in other words, not worrying about what other people think of them, living their own life in freedom, which is basically what this is, well, then the thing to do, and it's not about lying or not lying, authenticity either. It's about just being free. You don't want to ever, ever compare yourself to other people because you are like the snowflake, unique, completely God's artwork, and not worry about what other people think. Do your own thing. But of course, don't just blurt out something because you think someone's lied or they've said something. Don't worry about it. You don't need to be right. You never need to be right. If you know for a fact, so-called fact, someone said something that's incorrect, don't correct them. Leave them alone. It's just ego that wants to correct people. That's what Bob used to talk about. He said, why do you want to explain yourself? He said, the more people attempt to explain themselves, the more I don't believe them.
I love it. I love it. So if you could leave our folks with one affirmation and you only get to leave them with one, which one would it be?
Oh, I would just love them to just say as often as they can, thank you. If you don't like the word God, say divine, higher self, for my beautiful, rich, happy, harmonious, purposeful life. And just repeat that over and over again. Write it down. Just being thankful. It's better than saying the word gratitude because when you're in a restaurant, for example, you don't say, I have great gratitude for your service. You say, thank you. Thank you is a much more natural word to hear in your consciousness. Say, thank you, divine, for my beautiful, prosperous, whatever adjectives you want to add. And then what you can do to make it even more powerful is write down what a beautiful life looks like to you. If you sincerely could say, my life is absolutely amazingly beautiful, what does that look like? Where do you live? Who are you? How do you feel about yourself? Just what does a beautiful life look like? Like to me, I've got rabbits and squirrels and deer coming to the window when I do my washing up. I mean, it's like I'm Cinderella or something. It's a beautiful life. If that's what a beautiful life looks like to you, because I did write that down. Wildlife everywhere, rattlesnakes too, sure, but I just asked them kindly to leave the premises. So
Sounds
yeah,
kind of like my place. I live in the woods and have chipmunks and deer and bear and all that stuff. And
isn't
it
it
is
great?
it's a little bit of heaven. So what books, podcasts, anything like that should our folks be listening to?
Um, I've just finished a book that's a accumulation of 15 years of my teachings called Stop Thought. because
Love
everything
it.
is about stopping thought. But if you really want to read a book from one of the greatest enlightened teachers ever, I would totally recommend Autobiography of a Yogi by
I agree.
Paramahansa Yogananda and
Mhm.
The Play of Consciousness by Swami Muktananda and Interior Castle by the great saint, Saint Teresa of Avila. Interior Castle, my 3 favorite mystical books.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And the last question that I ask everyone, because you are on Think Your Way to an Epic Life, what can our folks be thinking about to get to their own epic life?
Well, just think about what can be done, not what can't be done. And you asked me a question before, and I think I'll answer it now if that's okay. One of the
Please.
things that's so important is your environment. If the boot of your car, the trunk of your car, is in chaos, clean it. Your wardrobe, clean out everything. Make sure that everything is impeccably zen in your life, and your consciousness will become more zen, and you'll have more clarity and focus, and stop complaining. Don't complain. Never ever complain, because complaining is just you trying to hide yourself from the shadow side of yourself, your doubting mind. So if there's a complaint coming up, stop yourself halfway through and say, what am I afraid of losing that I've got? Or what am I afraid of not getting that I want? And if you can pinpoint what it is you're in fear of, because when you complain, you are in fear and you're trying to mask it by complaining about someone or something. Don't complain about anybody. That's just not nice. And it'll just come back on you and you'll feel bad later. So just don't complain. Clean your house out. Because when you clean out your particularly, you've got one of those drawers, people. Clean that out today. The drawer that's the drawer of all drawers. It's got everything in it. And you will feel better. It's incredibly, miraculously fast. Anyway.
It's very true, and I agree 100%. I read a book when I very first started back in 1990 on self-development, and it was called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And she said the exact same thing. I'll save you a ton of money. Don't go to a therapist. Just go clean up. And if you have things, put them in a box, seal it up, put a date on it. If you haven't opened that box in 6 months, donate it. Just clean your life out. I love it. Michele, thank you so, so much. I appreciate having you on the show more than you can imagine. And
Thank you,
guys,
Kara.
oh, it's my pleasure. And all of her information is below on at least on YouTube. And if you would like to talk to her or talk to me and you're not quite ready to actually make a phone call, you can put comments in Facebook and either one of us can respond to them. So please talk to us. We'll be happy to talk back to you. Thank you so much, Michele.
Thank you, Kara.